10, Tyler Johnson. Tampa Bay had multiple injuries Sunday night. The wide receiver core was hit the hardest, with both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin going down. Evans suffered a hamstring injury, and Godwin is reported to be dealing with a sprained MCL. Tyler Johnson stepped up, catching 4 of his 7 targets for 41 yards. More than likely, he would be in line for increased opportunities if Evans and Godwin can't go next week against the Panthers. Now, Antonio Brown is eligible to return next week. The Bucs had been dancing around whether or not Brown would return to the team after his most recent scandal. But given the current state of their wide receiver core, Bruce Arians confirmed that Brown will be back. But Johnson would still have an increased role if injuries keep both Godwin and Evans sidelined, making him worth consideration. Number 9, Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds is the first of multiple Detroit Lions on my list this week. Quite frankly, I didn't think that I would be recommending picking up multiple Detroit players, ever. But opportunity knocks, and the Lions are answering after their crazy blowout victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Reynolds caught all 6 of his targets for 68 yards and 1 touchdown. It's not that I have a ton of confidence in Reynolds, but it seems clear that rather than giving TJ Hawkinson's targets to the backup tight end, his production is going to be spread around through the wide receiver core. Reynolds has seen a total of 23 targets over the past 4 weeks. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the wide receiver 1 in that offense, but Reynolds can still be a solid contributor and has a great matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. Number 8, Craig Reynolds. We just talked about one Detroit Reynolds, so let's go ahead and talk about the other. Craig Reynolds followed up his shocking Week 14 performance of 11 carries for 83 yards with another fantastic performance of 26 carries for 112 yards in Week 15. Provided DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams are out, he is the clear RB1 in this offense. Swift didn't practice all last week, which doesn't bode well for a Week 16 appearance. Jamal Williams is on the COVID list, and it's very possible that he is active in Week 16, which is why Reynolds falls further back on my list. But I wouldn't necessarily count Reynolds out even if Williams is active. Reynolds could play a complementary role to Williams, and the matchup against Atlanta is ideal. Either way, be safe, grab Reynolds in case we have another absence from both Williams and Swift. Number 7, MARQUEZ Valdes-Scantling. Over the past 4 weeks, MARQUEZ Valdes-Scantling has seen a total of 31 targets and 2 touchdowns. This week, he led the wide receiver core with 5 receptions for 98 yards and 1 touchdown. He's just a player that provides big play capability and appears to be garnering more trust from Aaron Rodgers, which is very crucial because over the past 4 weeks, Rodgers has thrown a total of 13 touchdowns. The Packers are thriving through the air, and MVS is a big part of that. Number 6, Gabriel Davis. With the Buffalo offense featuring Stefon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, and Dawson Knox, there just wasn't enough room for Gabriel Davis this season. But in Week 14, Emmanuel Sanders went down, and Davis stepped up, catching 5 of his 8 targets for 43 yards and a touchdown. The thing about Gabriel Davis is that despite his limited usage, he's actually been a very strong presence in the red zone. Prior to Week 15, he had 12 red zone targets and 4 touchdowns on the year on a very limited snap count. And this week against Carolina, he showed exactly what his usage looks like when you give him more opportunities, catching 5 of his 7 targets for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sanders is week to week, so if he can't go again, Davis can pay off big time in your lineup. Number 5, Russell Gage. Russell Gage actually saw a decrease in roster percentage last week, which I found a little bit puzzling because I was actually encouraged by his Week 14 performance. 4 receptions on 6 targets for 64 yards isn't fancy, but Matt Ryan only completed 19 passes for 190 yards and 1 touchdown against a very tough Carolina defense. So for Gage, it was a decent floor and a very bad game script. Well, the game script this week was much better, where Gage caught 8 of his 11 targets for 91 yards and 1 touchdown. He is averaging nearly 7 receptions per game and nearly 9 targets per game. He has to be rostered through the remainder of the season. Number 4, KJ Osborn. KJ Osborn plays Monday night, so I am filming this video prior to the game, but I am willing to go out on a limb here and continue to recommend KJ Osborn regardless of the outcome. Thielen is battling an ankle injury, and as long as Thielen is out, Osborn is the clear wide receiver 2 in that Minnesota offense. In Week 14, he caught 3 of his 9 targets for 83 yards and 1 touchdown. And recall, he was able to see that level of targets in a game that was dominated by both Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. In Week 16, Minnesota faces a Rams defense that is very strong, but if it has a vulnerability, it is against the pass. Again, Osborn is in play if Thielen is out. Number 3, Samaje Perine. This one is pretty simple, and the reason why we recommend grabbing high-end handcuffs for the playoffs. Joe Mixon suffered an ankle injury, and as of the filming of this video, we don't know the severity. But what we do know is that if Mixon is out, Perine steps into that lead back role. He's been strong on the ground in relief of Joe Mixon and has shown pass-catching ability as well. Baltimore is a tough matchup, but you cannot pass up on a lead back, so grab Perine in the event that Mixon's injury holds him out this week. Number 2, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown turned in yet another spectacular performance, catching 8 of his 11 targets for 90 yards and 1 touchdown. The man is just flat out on fire with a total of 26 receptions on 35 targets over the past 3 weeks. We talked about this earlier when we covered Josh Reynolds, but Amon-Ra St. Brown's late season emergence is shining through with the absence of TJ Hawkinson, who is out for the remainder of the season. You just can't replace a guy like Hawkinson, and the Lions clearly don't plan to, as only 2 targets went to the remaining tight ends on Sunday. St. Brown was number 6 on my waiver wire list last week, and I sincerely hope that you snagged him because he will be one of the hottest additions off the waivers this week. Number 1, Ronald Jones. From zero impact to potential RB1, Ronald Jones is my number 1 waiver ad of the week. At this point, we're all aware of the talent with Ronald Jones. Unfortunately, he just always ends up in Bruce Arians' doghouse. And Leonard Fournette just continues to thrive as a top 10 running back. But Fournette went down with a hamstring injury in Sunday's game, and as of the filming of this video, we don't know the severity of the injury, but he was ruled out fairly quickly, which typically doesn't bode well for next week's status. Rojo had 8 carries for 63 yards and caught both of his 2 targets for 8 yards. He looked fantastic. The Bucs faced Carolina, who just gave up 86 yards and a touchdown to Devin Singletary. If Fournette is out, Rojo could post RB1 numbers. And that wraps up this week's waiver wire ads. Thank you for watching, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to Fantasy Pros across all platforms, and come back next week for another round of waiver wire ads.